Here we go. All right, we are now recording. So look, I'm excited that you guys are here, and I'm excited that you're part of this group. My name's Tommy, and most of you might not even know who the heck is this Tommy guy, and so I'm gonna just share a little bit about my story, my Beachbody journey, my story, and who I am and how I got involved in this company. And then we're going to get into a topic called expanding your network, and hopefully I can maybe bring some out of the left field ideas to you guys that'll help you understand a little bit more, maybe about reaching out of your comfort zone, getting out of your network, or whittling down and getting focused on some kind of a niche or something like that. So with that said, man, I started my journey. I was 280 pounds. I picked up a set of P90X. I was just that freaking guy that I was super fat, man. I was miserable. That's how I lived the first 32 years of my life, really. So 8 years ago, it's been a long time ago, I picked up P90X back in the day when P90X was like all the rage. I don't know if you guys remember that, before the 21-day fix and before all the autumn stuff and so I picked that up, and in 2009 I became a finalist in the Beachbody Challenge. So you know how we have that contest where you can win 100 grand? At the time, it was 250 grand you could win. And I was a finalist. Like, I was like one of the 4 dudes on the freaking stage up to win 250 grand. And I thought sure as hell I was going to win. That's sort of my Ruby driven mentality. Like, I'm going to crush this thing. I'm going to win this thing. Well, I got up there and I didn't win. And at that time in my life, that was the biggest goal that I had. I had lost 115 pounds. I was a finalist. I didn't win. We leave, we get backstage. Some other guy is standing back there. His name's Dallas Carter. He had lost 180 pounds, and he's standing back there with his big check on, with cameras in his face, doing his interview over this $250,000 check. And I was disgusted, right? I wanted to puke. I wanted to puke. And Carl Deichler, this is the first conversation I had with Carl Deichler. And Carl was backstage with me, and he saw me like eyeballing this guy that was holding this check. And he said to me, Tommy, how you feeling right now? And listen, I'm a football coach. So a lot of things that I understand. I coach high school football in the state of Florida. I coach for one of the top 25 teams in the entire nation. Right now we're ranked 20th in the nation. The school that I coach at has more NFL players than any high school in the country. Okay. So he looks at me, how are you feeling? I said, well, I feel like the other team just kicked our ass and they're singing the fight song across the field to their fans, And he goes, look, this is what he said to me. And this was life-changing for me as a coach. He said to me, Tommy, I realize that you feel like you've lost a life-changing amount of money, but I want you to understand something. If you do this coaching thing right, you'll make that 250 grand every year, if not more. And at the time, I was like, I was an insurance agent for 10 years. I coached high school football as an insurance agent. I was really involved in my local community. I was like the president of Rotary Club and on different boards around my local hometown. I lived in a very freaking small town, 9,000 people in northern Ohio, a little town called Bellevue, Ohio. I didn't come from like a city where there were millions of people. I didn't do all that. We didn't have social media at that time. We didn't have any of that. But I just took it on me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for this, man. I'm really going to go for this. I had already been a coach at that point for an entire year and a half. Okay. I signed up as a coach in 2008, and this was in 2009 when I had this conversation. So the first year and a half that I was a coach, I really didn't do much with it. I kind of dabbled with it. I was kind of the guy that was, I did it. I helped a few people here and there, and I got to the point where I got to Diamond, and I was making a couple $100 a week and all that, which was extra, which was great pocket change. My first goals as a coach was really like, dude, if I could just make enough money to pay for my new fitness habit, that'd be freaking awesome, right? And maybe some of you guys can relate to that. Like, maybe you don't have these like big, hairy, audacious goals yet. Maybe some of you do. It wasn't until I was a year and a half, 2 years as a coach where I set some really big goals for myself, and goals that made me want to vomit. They really did. Like in 2010, I became a top 10 coach in the network. At that time, we had about 100,000 coaches, and then I repeated that in 2011. So I was a top 10 coach 2 years in a row. I went from doing 2 years where I did kind of just the basic minimal stuff and got to the point where I was making a couple $100 a week. And for some of you, maybe that would be freaking great. Maybe you just want to get to that point. But I knew nothing about network marketing. I knew nothing about social media. I had to do all the stuff that you guys are doing. I had to invest my time and learn some tricks of the trade, get some people skills, get some social media skills, and do all that stuff. And that's where you guys are at right now. But here we are, 8 years after the fact of signing up to be a coach. We make a mid six-figure income. I won the leadership award in the network, which was probably my biggest honor as a coach, just known as a leader that really serves people. And I think if that's any advice that I can give you that's off of tonight's topic, it's this. Our mission is to serve people and help them achieve their goals, right? And I'm going to mute this real quick because we're okay. Are we good? I think we're good now, right? No more screeching. Okay. I want you to first of all understand it. And if you keep this at the basis of what you do and the reason why you do this, I think that you're going to be okay. But our mission as a network is to serve people, is to help people. And at the end of the day, that's really what we do. We're here to help people. We're here to serve people. And in the process of serving people, we will hit our personal goals, right? Zig Ziglar said that, like, the more that you could do for someone else, the more that you'll get of what you want, right? If you could do for other people what they want and give them what they want, you'll get what you want. Tonight, we want to talk about how do we find more people, right? How do we expand our network of people? Like I said, I came from a freaking small town, 9,000 people. I wasn't going to build a team of thousands of coaches if I only focused on that little small town. Everybody understand that? But one of the first things that I learned, and we're going to talk about, is this. Number one, when it comes to expanding your network is, and this was something that I learned originally from an original mentor of mine named Craig. And he said one thing to me, and he said, listen, think locally, grow globally. Think locally, grow globally. Just like people outside of your town, the other people that from your town also know other people outside of your town. They're networked in different areas. And if you could focus on connecting with whatever local people first that and doing something there in your local environment, then that'll be great. So I did that. And this was before social media and before all the stuff that you guys are learning now, right? But I want you to understand, with the advent of social media, when I think of my little small town of Bellevue, Ohio, how many of the people that I went to freaking high school with have moved since that time, but they're on Facebook, right? How many people did I go to college with? How many people did I play football with back in the day? How many people did I know back when that I can reconnect with on Facebook and catch up with them? Okay, because and when we get to the end of this thing, it'll all make sense. But because if they've went on and lived their life, maybe in somewhere else, maybe in another state, maybe in another city, maybe in another town, maybe in another way. Okay, and as they've done that, they've built networks with other people as well. Okay, so I think in that it's this. Number one would be this: learn some people skills and prospecting skills and face-to-face skills. Learn how. I think in a world where we rely so heavily on social media that we forget that our people skills and our leadership skills and those types of things that we use face-to-face, right? We can also use through social media. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the skill set. I remember back when I first started, and probably one of the reasons that I struggled was that I would like product vomit on people. I was so excited about P90X and Beachbody stuff that when people would ask me about it, I would literally vomit every piece of information. How many of you guys do that? Like, someone asks you about Beachbody and you just go on a freaking rage about everything you love about Beachbody, everything you love about the 21-day fix, everything you love about coaching. And it's just like you're just throwing information, you're puking information, okay? Listen, I was guilty of that. I still find myself to be guilty of that sometimes today. I've had to learn the skill set of asking questions, shutting up, and listening, okay? So write this down. Learn to ask questions, shut up, and listen, okay? I'm going to put things in a football coach kind of way. That's who I am, right? That's just who I am. I'm a fireball freaking football coach. So if I say freaking, if I say ass, don't hold it against me. Don't lose the information because my style doesn't appeal to you, okay? Learning how, and Janelle Summers said this at an event, then this was a while ago, but she said, spend more time being interested than you do being interesting. That was life-changing for me. Because I quickly came to realize that even though I thought I was good with people, I really wasn't. And that I needed to develop those people skills. I needed to develop those listening skills. I needed to really show concern and interest in other people in their lives. So learning how to form. Have you guys heard that word form? Have you guys been taught how to form? Okay. What's funny is 7 years ago, nobody in the network talked about that. Okay. And then there was a bunch of us that went through some training with this lady, Danny Johnson, and she taught us how to form. And then, so now every time that you hear people in the network talking about what they do, whether it's online or face-to-face, see, everything that I'm talking about applies to both. Everything I'm talking about applies to both. Learning to ask questions and listen to what people say. So learning those face-to-face, because here's the thing, you never know who you might meet. There's prospects all around you on an everyday basis if you get out of the house. Now, some of you, maybe you don't get out of the house. Maybe you're a freaking stay-at-home mom and you feel like you're on kitty lockdown, right? I understand that. We have 3 kids under 3 years old right now in our house. I know how that is. We have a 2.5-year-old and twin 1-month-olds right now, okay? So I know how that is to be, and that's why social media is so great, because you could do the work from home and do it from your phone, okay? But learning those face-to-face skills and really applying them, really digging in and learning those and applying those. I got to tell you, some of the best leaders that I have on my team who are building the biggest organizations within mine are people that I met face-to-face and people that I used those skill sets on in order to build influence with them and build trust and rapport with them. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's first thing. Number 2 is this, write this down, personal development. All right. There's a reason why personal development is a freaking vital behavior. I mean, there's only 3 things that we say without them, you will die, right? Without them as a coach, you will die, right? It's being a product of the product first and foremost. Okay. And then this personal development thing is on that list of 3. And inviting, and you guys spend a lot of time learning how to promote, how to invite, and doing all that stuff. I want you to write this down, though. You will attract who you become. That you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most, okay? And so if you're finding that you're not attracting people into your circle, then that's why we need personal development. We need to get better at being a person. I'm still doing a ton of personal development. I've done a ton already, but I'm also investing all the time, whether it's my time with the book, whether it's me listening to stuff online. You guys are doing personal development right now. As you partake in this group, you're personally developing areas of your life, areas of your business, areas of your skill sets that are going to help you do that. But personal development, don't overlook that. There's a lot of coaches that go, and I was guilty of this for a while, like, I don't need that personal development stuff. I don't need to do that stuff. That's crap. I hate books. I hate freaking reading a book. I'm going to tell you something. There's not a single person that's like at a 5-star or up level. And maybe some of you have that goal. Maybe some of you don't eventually. Right now, your goal is to get to this diamond rank. That's why you're in this Dash to Diamond group. But there's not a single person. Most of us that come into this network don't come with ever having built a home-based business. We've never had to build a team of people. We've never had to do those things. Okay. And so just like if you were going to go be a nurse and you had to invest time in learning how to be a nurse, and you had to go to school for 3 years, and you had to then take that to the field and practice that, and then you had to get a job, and it took you 6 months or a year to learn that job. It's the same in this business, right? You're going to have to invest in doing that. And that's what you guys are doing here in this group. But as you grow as a person, you'll start attracting and recruiting and speaking to different types of people that are more fitting to what we do. Because you attract who you are. And, I heard one time this, if you don't like the people you're getting, then look at the person you are. Not at the person they are. Look at the person you are. Because you're attracting who you are. You're attracting, you guys understand it. Why do you think I have a team of a bunch of formerly obese people? Because I was an obese person. That's who my story connected with. That's who it connects with, right? So I tend to, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, but as you grow with personal development, you'll find that your network of people will grow. You'll get introduced. Some of the people on my team are people I met at personal development seminars, attending events outside of Beachbody stuff. So one of the biggest things that I want to talk to you guys about is this too. You're going to feel tempted to stay trapped in what we call the Beachbody bubble. It's the feel-good bubble. Because you guys are excited about Beachbody. You guys understand this? So right now, you're hanging out with a bunch of other people who are already excited about Beachbody, right? In these groups, in these group pages, at Beachbody events, if you go to Super Saturdays, all of that stuff. Our job isn't, that's part of our job. But our job is to find people from the outside and bring them in, right? It's not to hang out in our own Beachbody feel-good freaking world where we talk about other people who are excited to do push-ups and drink 17 Shakeologies and take healthy poops. You know, like that's not – I told you, I'm a little bit raw, okay? This is why the company quit putting me on stage because I just it comes out, all right? Okay. So get outside the Beachbody bubble. So what am I saying? So we did number 1, number 2. Number 3 is this: find your niche. Finding your niche, all right? When I really think about what I did, and I'm going to give you some examples of people that maybe you can relate to, maybe you can't, not just me, because you guys, a lot of you aren't like me. Maybe Steve is, because he's a dude, all right? But figuring out, and listen, one of my biggest recruiters right now, one of the best recruiters, and she's doing 10 to 12 coaches a month right now. And she was you a year ago, and she's put in 111 coaches in a 12-month period since she went through this program, okay? And it was this message that she got from this. When I asked her now, I'm like, what was it that clicked? She's like, when you talked about like finding your niche, I really took that and I ran with that, okay? And so here's the thing. It's hard to hit a target that you can't see. So a lot of us, when we're first starting out, we're out there and we're just kind of shooting bullets, but we're not hitting anything, okay? Because we don't have a specified message to a specified target of people, all right? For me, my niches were and always have been and still are people who struggle with food addiction, weight loss, all that stuff. So I talk about those things openly. Why? Because I can relate. That's something I can relate to. I understand that language. I know what it's like to freaking stuff my face and feel miserable and be tempted to run through Taco Bell. I understand that world of people. I can speak their language. You guys understand that? So I tend to attract a lot of those people. I also love to be involved in local communities, local community groups, right? So I'm a big face-to-face guy. And a lot of my Facebook following are people that I meet face-to-face and I add them onto my Facebook, okay? So I meet them face-to-face, I get them on my Facebook, which is where then I talk about Beachbody stuff. I think about people, so my niches were always local people and fat people. Because that's who I was. That's in my heart of hearts, that's who I was as a human being. Everybody understand that, okay? I'll give you another example, like my wife right now. My wife right now is a mom. She's a mom, but she's not just any mom. She is now a mom of twins, right? So she's in all of these twin groups with all of these twin mommies. That's such a specified niche of people. And there's hundreds of thousands of them just in this country alone, right? Hundreds of thousands of them. Now that she's a mom of multiples, she understands and she could talk to that niche of people. She could talk about the struggles of being a mom of multiples. She could talk about how her exercise and her Shakeology and how being a coach and being able to earn income from home helps her deal with being a mom of multiple children. Everybody understand that, okay? So that's her niche. Tara Carr, who's always been one of my favorites. She was a military spouse and a mom. So she built her entire business. Once she figured out her niche of people, she went and she focused on military moms and military spouses and moms, military wives and moms. She built her whole freaking team. She built a 15-star, I think, twice, just focusing on those people. Like if you look at her team, it's a bunch of freaking Army wives with kids. That's who she is. You guys understand that? Okay, so find a niche. My girl right now that did 110 coaches, 111 coaches in the last 12 months. She's a runner. She loves to run, right? So what she does is she figured out how to go find people through social media that also love to run, that are like her, okay? So she's part of runner groups. She, through her Facebook pages and Instagram, and she goes finds, running pages, and she takes the people skill sets, the skill set of forming and all that stuff, and she forms them and builds relationships with them and gets them as friends and adds them to her social media, where she then has learned how to present Beachbody in a way that speaks directly to that people. See, here's the thing. Once you figure out what your niche is, and you all have one, Tulin Emery, okay, is a girl. I met her, I think 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. She's a girl. She was 340 pounds, okay? She's now like 270. Over the course of 3 years, she's lost like 70, 80 pounds with Beachbody doing that stuff. But she has marketed and branded herself online as plus size fitness, right? And she ain't afraid to put it out like that. So her whole Instagram, her whole Facebook is all this plus size fitness and talking about plus size girls trying to freaking, so she's found her niche, right? That's who she speaks to. That's who she relates to. Okay, so those are just some examples. So my question to you guys is this, like, who are you? What worlds of people do you speak the same language with? All right, are you Hispanic? Can you go build, like I was talking to this one girl, I live in South Florida now. I'm from Ohio, but I moved to Fort Lauderdale, right? And there's this girl down here, she's a coach, she's not my org, but she's Brazilian. And there's a ton of Brazilian people down here in freaking South Florida. And I'm like, why aren't you just focused on the Brazilian market? Just go talk to them. There's hundreds of thousands of them in this state alone. She's like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Why am I not doing that? So the first thing is this, discovering what your niche is. And I challenge you guys tonight to think about that. And then 2 is this, learning how to promote to that niche of people. Okay. So you gotta know what they are, then you gotta find them, and then you gotta learn how to speak their language, like speak to them. So here's the thing. My wife is a mom. She knows what moms struggle with. She knows what they struggle with time-wise. She knows what they struggle with spouse-wise. She knows what they struggle with income-wise in their households, right? So when she talks on social media, she's talking to those people, right? And she's putting it in terms that are directly attached to that. So she says things like, listen, I understand what it's like to be a mom of twins. Okay? I know what it's like to feel like you don't have time to freaking, which is why I love T25. It's 25 minutes, which is right. Which is why I love being a Beachbody coach, because I don't have to go to my job. I can do it from anywhere. So when I'm sitting at the doctor's office with my kids and waiting for 2 hours to see the OB, I could just whip out my phone and work from there. It gives me the freedom to both be with my kids and also be helping my husband earn additional money for the house. You guys understand that? So she's learned how to promote and speak to that niche of people. So the first thing is finding your niche. The second thing is going on social media and figuring out where they're at and learning how to build relationships with them and learning how to get them onto your page, which is where you then present to them. You guys understand that? Or is that confusing to you? Okay? Not confusing. Good. Okay? Which really is number 4. Number 4 is build a following out of that niche. And go build a following out of that niche. Amy Silverman, who's a freaking top 10 coach, okay? Loves to travel. The girl's got tattoos head to toe, right? All her whole arms are tattooed up and has like dreads and stuff like that. And that's just who she is. And I love her to death. She's a free-spirited woman who just loves to travel. And so she went really on Instagram. She just built a huge following of people who also love to travel, who also have tattoos. That's her niche market. Other tattooed girls that love to, or people who, she has that in common with them. And then she just talks about how body just fits perfectly into what she's trying to do with her life. She's not trying to be tied down. She's not trying, she's trying to be a free spirit, go wherever she wants, and how Beachbody fits that and what it's done for her and her life and all that stuff, and how coaching has helped her create something, for herself and all that stuff. So number 4 is this, build a following out of that niche of people, okay, would be the best advice that I can give you guys. And then number 5, and the last thing, and then we'll open it up for questions. Hold on. Somebody's making their shakeout. I think I found it. All right, we're good. All right, number 5 is this, and this is the last point, is this. Influencing influencers, okay? And this is sort of this took me a long time to understand, okay? For a long time, I thought everybody that was on my team had to go after the same mission that I was on for the same type of people that I was on, and that's just not the truth. They had their own niche markets that they needed to go find or that they had already developed, okay? If you can learn to influence influencers, what am I talking about? I'm talking about demographic leaders and the people that you bring in, helping them figure out how to find their niche and how to go do the same thing, right? This business is a lot about duplicating how we think. Maybe not how we look and how we act and doing all that stuff, but how we think. It's like this. If you can find somebody who is already influential and you can influence them to see how Beachbody can help them and other people, right? And then you cut them loose to go influence their people. You influenced many through the art of influencing one. Okay? My business grew a hell of a lot faster when I was never a yoga teacher. I was never a woman. Okay? But I learned how to connect with people who were that and say, you know, and here's the thing, it didn't have to be my story that helped them see the light. I could say, listen, there's plenty of other fitness instructors that and yoga teachers and nutrition, you know, freaking Nazis, people that are like you, that are really into that stuff, that do Beachbody and they love it, and they're able to help more people. Why don't you just start doing that? She was a fitness competitor and a yoga instructor. I got a whole team of like 1,600 fitness competitors in my organization. I'm not a fitness competitor. I influenced one of them who had already built friendships and influence in that world. So I influenced a leader in a totally different world. Do you guys understand that? I influenced one to influence many. And my workload was having my connection with that one person. I didn't have to have a connection with all 1,600 of her current coaches. You guys understand that? Right? I had to help her grow as a person. I had to help her grow as a team builder. I had to help her grow and show her how to promote what she was trying to say and who she wanted to help. Okay? And she learned how to go find other fitness competitors and yoga people on Facebook. She did exactly what what I'm telling you tonight. Okay? But my team grew how much? Because of that one person. You guys understand that? Okay? So, like in a perfect world, if I was going to build a perfect team, I would go find a black person who is a freaking influential people in that market. I would go find a mom who's an influencer in that market. I would go find you know, a fitness instructor that is, see what I'm saying? And I would have teams of demographics growing within my organization. Okay? Right now, you've got to figure out how to go connect with your people. Down the road, you'll figure out how to help other people connect with their own niches and present it to their own niche people. You guys understand it? But your first step is what you're doing right now, learning how to promote, present, brand yourself, you know, do all those things, but find your niche. It does no good to go out there and try to brand yourself if you don't have a niche market that you're branding to. And your brand and your niche shouldn't be what everybody else's is. Be who you are. Go after the people that you truly want to help. I do the best in this business when I never forget who it is that my heart is on fire to go help. So my question to you is this: who do you truly want to help? Do you want to help other moms? Do you want to help other dudes? I got a guy who's a former drug addict and a former alcoholic, and he started getting into Beachbody, and he started doing fitness, and it got him off of drugs. And so he goes and he talks to people in that world and tries to help them see the light to a different way of living. Do you guys understand that? I've never been a drug addict. I don't know what that's like. He does. Okay? I don't know what it's like to be you. But go influence your people. Go build a following with those people and go influence those people. So when you're looking to expand your network of people and get out of your own little world, see, the thing is this: whoever you are, you already have other people like that in your life, but there's many, many more of them that you can go find if you actively go seek them. Everybody got that? So with that said, that's 30 minutes. Not too bad. Not an hour and a half. I didn't keep you till freaking 10 o'clock or 11:30 or anything like that, because I know you guys got busy lives. Do you guys have questions for me? Might as well do it, because this is the one time you're going to get sitting down with me, you know? And maybe I said some things that you haven't heard, or maybe it all sounds familiar. I don't know. But if there's any questions, speak now. Or if you have questions that maybe come up in your head over the next day, just post them in that group page and I'll answer them there. And maybe you can get feedback from all of the leaders that are in that group. Anybody?
I do have a random question.
Yep, random. Go ahead.
What's the name? You're talking about the drug addict that you have as a coach. I actually have somebody who's recovering in my team. Okay. I just want to know who they are so I can connect them on Facebook maybe.
Yeah. Send me a Facebook message. His name is Rick Fulton. Okay. My guy lives in California. All right.
Okay. But that might help her actually be influenced on how to.
Let me tell you something. What she's doing right now, that's smart stuff. Okay? Because she might not be able to relate to that guy, and she might not have all the answers for that guy. But if you can find someone else within the network that you can connect them to that does understand who they are and does understand what they're going through and does understand what questions they have, then learn to be a connector. That's one of the best things that I learned through Danny Johnson. She said that if you learn to be a connector of people to ideas and to other people, then you'll be more successful versus you trying to be the answer for everybody. So Jennifer, do me a favor. I'm in that page. Shoot me a Facebook message. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll work behind the scenes here to make sure that they get connected, those guys. All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Good stuff.
I have a similar question, actually. I have a mom of 3 on my team who works full time. I'm not a mom. I'm a new wife. I do everything I can to encourage and support her, but I can't make her feel better about her schedule, and I can't help her because when I get home, I only have my dog and my husband to worry about.
Right.
So I know you've got a family and your wife probably has some answers to that, but I mean, I've recommended some coaches I know that are moms that have gone full-time with Beachbody, but I just don't know how to help her and encourage her without overwhelming her.
Okay. So here's my best answer. All right. One of the first things we talked about was personal development. Okay.
She's good with that.
Okay. So learning to prescribe personal development.
Okay.
One. Okay. Because you can't answer her time management questions, but chances are there's personal development out there that can help her answer that.
Okay.
So it's kind of like being a doctor. A doctor just gives you a prescription. So when people come to you with whatever problems, you could try to be the medicine or you could just be the prescriber of the medicine that they need. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You guys understand that? So that's why personal development is so huge. Like if someone comes to me and they have time management issues, I can always make recommendations of things that they can go through, whether that is, going through Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog, which is a time management thing, or chances are there's another coach in the network that already has a video through YouTube. And so I'm going to go ask my leader or ask the leaders of the network or whatever, hey, does anybody have a video on how to deal with being a mom? And I'm sure, listen, there's 400,000 coaches. Somebody's freaking made a video that talks about that. You understand what I'm saying? Or just doing your best job like you're doing right now of trying to figure out who she can connect with or who she can follow. There's plenty of people, even if they just go follow them on social media.
Right.
They don't necessarily have to take up their time and talk to them, but there's other women in the network that are moms and that have done the full-time job deal, through the first few years or whatever, until they got things to a point where they could leave their job or do whatever. Like David Atkins and his wife, Kristen Atkins, Atkins. They got freaking 4 kids and she was a teacher and he's a cop in like New York City or something. And they've built heavily for like 2 to 3 years. And now she's left her teaching job and she's able to be home with the kids. So there's like a great example. So that's part of the reason why you want to stay connected to the network is just so you have an arsenal of examples that you could point people to and say, well, I've not done that, but I know so-and-so did and so-and-so did. Maybe you start following them because they openly talk about that through their social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In fact, David Atkins, and the reason I use that as an example is David Atkins isn't one of my coaches. He came up to me at Summit a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. He comes up to me at Summit in the hallway, says, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? And he told me how he was feeling because he knew from following me that I had some of those same issues. And in a 10-minute conversation, I was able to flip him, right? And now he's got a team of like 2,000 coaches a couple years later, and his wife's home from work and doing all that stuff. And so, I would encourage them to just follow some, there's plenty of top people that are currently in the network that are from that situation that you could say, I would follow them and I would see what they're doing and see what they say. And, Lindsay Matway is a mom too, like there's plenty of moms. I understand what she's talking about, but that's really honestly like the best thing I could tell you. Like what I would tell her is this: she really has to whittle down her power hour. She's got to focus on this. She really wants to do this business. She doesn't have time for the BS. She doesn't have time to just freaking hang out. Like, set your power hour, you know, and figure out your plan of attack, and then go do that, and just do that consistently. That's how, I mean, literally Amy Silverman did that for a while. She just did a power hour every day. Because that's what her coach told her to do. She sent out 10 invites a day, every day for a year. And all of a sudden she woke up a year later and she's like, holy crap, I'm actually making, you know, $1,500 a week. And I'm only 12 months into this thing. What if I do it another 12 months?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so
I need to follow that girl.
Yeah, I love it. I mean,
Good.
I'm going to give you examples of people that like, I use a lot of the off the wall examples. Because I really think, and hey, this is just me, man. All right, I'm just gonna tell you like where I come from, and you know, and what I see. I think that it's easy to get caught up in this cookie cutter thing that you see, right? You know, like everyone has the same kind of professional photos and they're branding themselves that way. And I'm not saying that that's bad, right? But the examples I've given you, Tulin Emery and Amy Silverman and those kind of people, and David Atkins, to me, that's an example of the fact that people can go be their true, authentic self, not have to fit the cookie cutter mold, and go build a freaking network of people that also fit that. Like when you see Amy Silverman walking around Summit with her group of people, they are all freaking tatted up and doing, you know, and all that stuff. They're like her. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't want to, I mean, I don't know. I want to build a team of people like me that I can relate to.
Yeah.
Because that's who I'm going to hang out with at events. That's who I'm going to be working with on calls. That's who you're right. So like if I'm a dude, like I want a guy like Steve to be on this call. And look, even as he looks at this call and he says, man, I'm the only dude in this call. I want him to have a role model that he can look at and go, he did it, and he did it recently. If he can do it, so can I. You guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the best advice I can give you is go be your true, authentic self, you know, and go look for people that you relate to and go connect with them and market yourself to them and brand yourself to them. You know, and go build a team of people of them. And when you get somebody that maybe it comes in your organization, because my best leaders aren't the people that I sponsored. That's the whole thing, locally grow globally. That doesn't just apply to like geographic area. Okay. Like my best team builders are like 3, 4, 5 levels deep for me. Like the people that are paying me right now aren't necessarily the people that I brought in. It's someone they brought in that they brought in that they brought in, who took this thing and ran. And by the 4th generation, that person looks nothing like me. And I've had to learn to say, here, go find your niche. Go do your thing. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Okay, so right now you guys are thinking 1st generation, right? Right now you're just trying to get your own 1st generation going. Like right now, you just got married to Beachbody. You're trying to have your own Beachbody kids. Okay, you're not thinking about being a grandpa yet. I'm a grandpa in this thing. I have to come from the grandpa standpoint, okay? And so, you know, your 1st generation, first 2 generations of people are going to look a lot like you. They're going to be a lot like you. You guys understand that? So I mean, I don't know if that directly answers your questions or not, but my thing is this. If you feel hopeless in helping somebody, the best thing you can do is point them to something else. Don't try to be the solution. That was one of my biggest downfalls at the beginning of this thing. The first couple of years that I did it was I was trying to be everybody's solution. I didn't understand how to be a connector and connect people to outside sources. And learning how to connect those people to outside sources, you got to understand something, okay? One of my top leaders, I just did a call with her tonight for 30 minutes. And she's on my anytime you need me list. I have 3 lists of people, okay? I have anytime you need me. I have on occasion and only if it's vitally important. And I have never in your life are you going to call me. Okay. Suck. All right. I have that person who is like, you've blown a bunch of hot air at me for far too long and I've wasted my time on you. And until you stop wasting your time on yourself and lying to yourself. Okay. Like sometimes you got to tell people that too. Like, look, stop lying to yourself. You're saying you're going to do this, but you're not doing it. You know? So sorry. Sometimes I'm hardcore. I'm like a sensitive hardcore guy. Okay. But the point is this, learning how to connect people to outside resources. All right. Listen, I'm not no freaking social media expert. I love having Chalene Johnson because when someone wants to learn that stuff, I point to them. Why do you think that you're in this group? Why do you think the leaders of this group chose to have different leaders leading it and chose to use videos from different people from around the network to speak to you guys, because they might not directly be able to get through how you think or what you do, but other resources can. You guys understand that? So that's where personal development comes in. That's where the network comes in. The network is full of people that you can point to and encourage people to follow. Like for the first 2-3 years that I did this, I wanted everyone to follow me. I was that guy, right? I wanted everyone to follow me. Learning how to do what we're talking about and point people to outside resources and connect them to other things. Because here's what happens. Now they go work with the resource while I hang out in the pool with my daughter. You guys understand that? Versus them working directly with me and taking up my time. So you want to know how to build a team of people without it sucking up all your freaking time is you got to learn how to do that. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise, if you're trying to answer all the questions and be all the answers to everybody that you bring in, and you're getting freaking text messages, you know, at 11 o'clock at night, you know, how many of you do that? And I'll be honest. How many of you are doing that right now? Right? Okay. I did that for a long time. It sucks. It stinks, because then you're like, okay, I only have 10 people and I can't keep up with how many questions I'm getting already. So learning how to be system dependent and point people to the system is a huge deal. That way, you got to get them off the nipple. You know what I mean? Like you gotta, I don't know how else to put it. You know, you gotta groom them that you're not always the go-to resource. That's why there's an FAQ in the online office, right? That's why there's, that's why there's YouTube. It's like, you know, if you want directions to my house and you already have my address, I'm not going to give you freaking handwritten directions. That's why there's navigation. That's why there's Google Maps. Go to Google Maps, put my address in, figure it out, okay? So don't teach people to be completely dependent solely on you, you know? Show them where the system is, show them where they can find answers, and teach them to independently go do that, all right? Okay, any other questions, man? And it could be about anything.
I've got one, because I'm also really big on personal development.
Cool.
And so what would you say your top personal development recommendations are to deal with like some of the more common struggles that coaches have?
Well, I think that depends on what their biggest struggle is. Okay. For me, by far, and in the network, you might hear different things from different people. For me, Dani Johnson has been huge for me, her First Steps to Wealth, and going through her seminars and doing that stuff. That's really where I learned. And in the long run, you know, that's where I learned my people skills. That's where I really learned my leadership skills. When you have an organization, you're going to deal with things like drama and gossip. Those and you don't think that's going to happen. All of a sudden it happens, and you see fallout because of it. And so if you can learn how to avoid that and how to manage that and do those things in the long run. So, I think any personal development, you know, is obviously good. For me, that's been a game changer. I've led thousands of coaches through her stuff. Some of the top leaders, like when I talk about Amy Silver, Summer Tucker, you want a great person to follow, go follow Summer Tucker. You want to talk about a freaking girl next door that's absolutely crushed this thing. Like I'm looking around at all of y'all, and I'm like, man, there's a bunch of like Summer Tucker like people on here. You know what I mean? And she's like your freaking girl next door, man. Her husband was a military guy. She's kind of the girl next door. Very real, very authentic. She's great, you know. But she's done Dani Johnson stuff. I think this is kind of a mix of sort of what Dani does, and then all of the social media branding stuff that like Chalene teaches and does that, right? So a lot of people, like, I think those two worlds collide, and you learn how to marry those two things, then you're great. Leadership development, obviously, like I love John Maxwell. You know, like if you know, I mean, and let me tell you something, the greater that you grow as a leader, I love John Maxwell stuff. And one of my first pieces of personal development was his 21 laws of leadership, and going through that in audio. I fought reading books. How many of you fight reading books like you don't like to read? Okay. All right, man. You're my people. But here's my book that I'm reading right now, Manhood GPS. Okay. It's by my buddy, PJ McClure. He spoke at our men's leadership conference, and he sent this to me. So Steve, there's one for you. You know, I do a lot of, I read books by Stephen Furtick. You know, Danny, you know, if you're into the God deal, like Danny has one called Spirit Driven Success, which is about, you know, leadership and God's calling on us to be greater leaders and stuff like that. That's a whole nother crazy thing that's happened to me since becoming a coach. I was like a middle finger up to God person up until about 4 years ago. And then personal development led me totally down a different path. That's been a wild ride for me, to be honest with you. So I openly talk about that journey as well, you know, about my own spiritual growth, which happened because of coaching, which is nuts. Like, it happened because I picked up P90X and started doing push-ups. And I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't have kids. My wife was a Beachbody coach. That's how I met her. The kids that we have, like, it's nuts. My life is totally different because of this deal. So I think that we focus so much on like the X's and O's, right? Like, we focus on the X's and O's, like do this, do this, do this. That's the X's and O's, that we lose sight of some of the really deeper value of what we have as coaches. And when we can learn to present the really deeper stuff to our network of people, like to our niche of people, the deeper stuff, like not just the X's and O's, but the deeper stuff, you know, when I can sit here and say, listen, nothing in my life, it would be the same if I hadn't have picked up a workout program. I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't live in Florida. The reason I'm in Florida, the reason I coach at this high school, this is how crazy it is. Okay. I was coaching in Bellevue, Ohio. The reason I'm coaching at St. Thomas Aquinas. And if you look up AquinasFootball.com, if you're interested, you'll go see I'm not full of crap. Okay. Literally it's mind blowing how many successful people in the football world have come out of this. Like, this school has influenced the game of football in crazy ways, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Their head coach was a P90Xer. He saw me in the commercial. I met him on a Beachbody cruise. He knew I married a girl from Florida and I was looking to get her back. And he said, come coach with me. You know, I could use a guy like you on my staff. All of a sudden I'm in Fort Lauderdale coaching football at St. Thomas. It's nuts. You know what I mean? So I don't overlook the deeper things that can happen in somebody's life if they really engage with what we do. And it's more than the money, and it's more than freaking Success Club points. I get so pissed because we focus as a network so much on how many points do you have and what's your rank and all this stuff, that we lose sight of some of the really deeper, more important things that can happen in a person just if they engage in the personal development side of what we do. It'll change them from the inside out. I mean, I want you guys to really, and this, I didn't mean for this to be a personal development discussion tonight, but I truly do believe this. You attract who you are and who you become, you know? And so, you know, if people just engage in that side, it's like fitness for your insides. I mean, you know, we want to get fit, we want to get healthy. So we do push-ups and drink a shake, and we do power jumps. If we want to get fit on the inside, you know, if we're not getting the results we want, you know, like, we got to get through some of our stinking thinking, and we all have it. We all have it. We don't all want to admit it, but we all have it sometimes. How many of you, you know, you get in those moods, you know, you're griping and you're talking reverse psychology to yourself and all that, you know, and the words are coming out of your mouth and you're like, I don't even know why I said that. Like, why was I so mean right now? Or why was I so, you know, depressed right now? Or why was I so miserable right now? We need personal development every single day to keep us in our best form and to help chisel away all the crap so we can become something that's more of a masterpiece that other people can look up to and want to follow. You guys understand that? So if you start becoming, if you do personal development, you start becoming someone that is worthy of other people following. Okay. So you got to ask yourself that question. Am I the type of person that other people should follow? Right. That's really where recruiting happens. Okay. And you know, so ask yourself that question and really, and I know that's kind of a deep thing is, am I someone who am I worthy of leading right now? Who I am in my life? Who should be following me? And I want you to write this down. Like, your lifers, the people that should be following you are people who are 1 or 2 or 3 steps behind you. They're not too far off of where you came from. So who were you before Beachbody came in? Why did you say yes to what we do? And who have you become now? You learn to present that and show whatever growth has happened in your life, whether that is, you know, hey, I can finally see my triceps, or whether that is, talk about your growth story as you're growing with what we do. Like, maybe you got something out of tonight's call, right? Maybe there's one thing you got out of tonight's call, and all of a sudden you get on social media and you say, you know what, I'm so glad this hit me tonight. And it doesn't even have to do with Beachbody. Maybe it's, you know what, I've been selling myself short. I know that I can invest more time in learning to become a better person. I'm so grateful that I became a Beachbody coach because it led me to that discovery. You guys understand what I'm saying? All right. So, all right. With that said, I can tend to have long-winded answers. So I hope I'm not boring some of you, but some of you might need to hear that message. So, and I just think, I think, and I could sit here and here's the thing. Some leaders might come on here and teach you all about Facebook like pages and how to run ads. I haven't done that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know about that because I haven't done that. Is that a route you could take? Yeah, that's a route you could take. And some people have taken that very successfully. Okay. Just go find the people that are doing that. If that's what you want to do is go build a like page and run ads and go target people and target market that way, then go invest your time learning from someone who does know that. I don't know that. You know what I mean? That's not what, I mean, if you go, I'm the guy that did objection handling and people skills at Summit for 3 or 4 years in a row. You know what I mean? So there's all kinds of videos. Listen, if you want objection handling and all that stuff, if you just go look up Tommy Migrant objection handling, Tommy Migrant 5-step process, and all that stuff, just go YouTube it, and there's hours and hours and hours of stuff on there with that kind of world of skill sets. Okay. Social media skill sets, I'm probably not the guy to teach you. You need to go learn that from somebody. All right. So, with that said, any other questions? Is anybody else sweating? I'm sitting here sweating bullets, man. It's November. It's 93 degrees in South Florida.
Oh.
So, all right. No questions?
Hey, Tommy, I got no question.
Yeah.
You spoke on a team call of mine a few months back, and I've pretty much followed you ever since. And
Okay.
It was just before Summit, actually, and I just missed you at Summit. So this is the first time I've got any type of conversation with you at all.
Well, dude, man, run up to me with 25,000 people and start giving me high fives and stuff. I love that. So
Yeah.
thank you. And listen, I need that too because sometimes I wonder, like, it's easy to sit when you're at home and you're sitting here and you don't realize what kind of impact you have. You don't ever know who's watching you. You never know who's following you. You never know who's seeing your stuff. You just don't know. You know what I mean? So, like, here's a situation where maybe something I've said or done, and Steve happened to be there. You know what I mean? And that's good, man. Thank you for telling me that.
I made sure to make this call because I knew you were doing it. I wouldn't miss it.
Good.
Oh.
I mean, look at me. I'm blushing.
I'm blushing too.
You gave me a whole new way of looking at something that I wasn't doing at all, with the find your niche and everything. So
Yeah.
a full page of notes and everything that I almost never take. So
Good,
thank
man.
you.
Listen, and you know what? If you take that and you just go put it into action and really sit down and think about that, I'm telling you, when my girl, she's 5 levels deep for me, and she went through this, and this was the call that I did through my diamond group and whatever. And I did a whole call just on finding your niche and really dug into that. And that's what she told me. So what she did was she's a runner, she and a mom. And so she went and built, a like page. So she married it with the like page idea. And she now has like 17,000 followers on her like page that are all like runners and moms. And she just talks to that world of people. And she's sponsoring 2, 3, 4 coaches a week. I mean, it's nuts. Like I see her name is constantly in my downline. It's hard to miss, And then I ran a contest in my team. I called it Swarm Stomach. Our team is Swarm, and there was prizes if you were the top recruiter and blah blah blah. She won that whole deal. She sponsored 43 coaches in 6 weeks, right before Summit, and so she got to sit in the $1 million section with me at Summit, and she was all excited. It's so freaking awesome, man. But had she not taken that message and ran with it, none of that would have happened. So
What's her name? What's her name again? The one that you're talking about that sponsored all these coaches?
God, I knew.
I want to follow her.
So listen, Liz Bellini.
Liz Bellini.
Okay. Bollini.
Okay.
Okay. She's great. I love her. She's a freaking fireball.
Cool.
I love her. She's cool. That's who I was talking to on the call tonight. right before this because she was thinking about doing some personal development on learning how to like structure her business. Has grown so much and so fast that now she's a little bit overwhelmed, right? You know, and she's learning how to navigate that, which is fun. It's fun to see other people grow in that and go through that same process and same journey. I hope some of you do. I really do. I promise you this, that if you just give yourself to it and you actually just go do it, and you know, and part of it is like you got to have some blinders on. You just got to make the decision like I'm all in on this thing. You know, it's kind of like getting a plane off the ground. Right? Like when I tell people who really want, and I know you guys are like trying to get the diamond right now, like that's like your goal right now. Okay. But I tell people, and I don't play softball. I just tell you guys the freaking truth. Okay. Here's the thing, man. It's like getting an aircraft off the ground. It's got to build up speed and enough speed to get off. So the heavy workload is at the front freaking end. And flying. You guys understand that? Right? It's during the takeoff and lift that the plane has to get the biggest momentum. So if the plane just kind of goes along, and they do just enough, that if that plane just does just enough to be moving, but doesn't get up to full speed, it never flies. Okay? Your team and your business is going to be a lot the freaking same way. And I don't want to set you guys up for failure. And I have a lot of people that they've done just enough. What do I mean just enough? They've went and they've sponsored their 1 or 2 coaches a month, and they've, you know, and they've made Success Club consistently, and they've done that for a couple of years, but it's still not taking off the way they want it to or the way they thought it would. You guys understand that? Okay? Because they don't have enough momentum to get the thing off the ground. So it just kind of stays at the same level, okay? So I do you no favor. So one of the best things that I could tell you guys, and this is totally off tonight's topic, is this, is you need to set some freaking goals for yourself that you're nervous about whether you could do or not. You know? I call it the vomit meter, okay? Seriously, like learn to set some vomit goals for yourself. So like if your goal right now is to find, you know, 2 coaches a month, and it's comfortable, if you're comfortable with that goal and you know that you can do it, then you need to set a higher number for yourself. Set a number that makes you nervous. So like if you know that you can get 6 points easy, but 15 points or 20 points makes you anxious, then just pick a month and say, I don't give a crap what it takes. I'm going to get 20 points this month. The best thing I ever did, I was like getting 6 points and sponsoring 2 coaches and going nowhere fast. Okay. All right. Then there was a month where if you finished in the top 10 for Success Club points, Carl Deichler would fly to your hometown and do an interview with you at your house. Okay.
No way.
Oh no. Yeah. And there's a video of him interviewing me in my hometown on YouTube. At this point, I hadn't been in the top 10 of freaking anything. Of anything. I was just this guy that was on everybody's join button. So like literally, like if you go to beachbodycoach.com, your website, if you go to the join button, that's my picture. Silver
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I'm in the silver under. I'm the silver underwear guy on your button. And I haven't stopped hearing about that for 7 years. For 7 years, I've been the silver underwear. Okay. All right. But the point is this. So there was a girl in my hometown that said, Tommy, you got to make the top 10. And you got to, you know, get Carl to our hometown so everybody can meet him, right? Because I had like 80 coaches in my hometown at that time, right? And I go, yeah, I'll do it. And I turned around and I wanted to puke, right? I literally, like, I wanted to puke, like, holy shit, did I just say that I would finish in the top 10 of this deal? And, you know, at that time, you know, I probably needed like at least 35 points. Now you got to have 150. At that time, you needed like 35. I had never had more than 7 points in a month. And all of a sudden, I committed myself to something that was so outside of my comfort zone that I wasn't going to hit it, right? So at that point, my goal was bigger than my fear of asking, right? My goal became bigger than my fear. And at that point, everybody got asked. All of my uncles got asked. All of my buddies got asked. All of my people got asked. And I just told them, hey, I have this huge goal. Right? I committed myself to this thing. Have you ever thought about doing this? So write that down. Have you ever considered? Have you ever thought about doing this? Because if you have, now's the time. Not next month. Next month, don't do me any damn good. Right? Now's the time. So if you've been on the fence about this thing, now's the time. Okay. But my big goal set me into big action. And the big action is what took me to finish like 7th or 8th that month and getting to my home, which is what made me finish 8th in the network. Because that I proved to myself that I was capable of more than what I was doing, right? I proved to myself I was capable of more. All right. And so then all of a sudden I was in the top 10 of the network. Then all of a sudden I did that 2 years in a row. Then all of a sudden I was making that $250,000 a year, which for me was freaking, I came from freaking welfare. My mom and I were homeless when I was 11. I came from nothing. I was a free freaking lunch kid. You know what I'm saying?
I was too.
You know what I mean? So I know that you know what I mean. Okay. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have nothing. You know what I mean? And so, it's mind blowing to me what this business, like I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. I never thought about that. And for me, the money didn't drive me. It was the mission to help people, right? I was on a mission to help a certain specified person that I had in my head. At the time, I didn't realize I was niching because I didn't know that, but that's what I naturally, instinctively did. So if you guys can just learn to do that, what is your mission? You need to be on a mission to help somebody do something great with them, with their lives. You know what I mean? And go find those people. So with that said, man, I appreciate your guys' time. I don't expect that y'all sit here all night. I'll answer more questions if you want me to, but if you have to go, I understand that too. But with that said, if you have more questions, post them on that page, right? I'm here all week, you know? Or if any of you feel the need, you know, like if something really spoke to you tonight, you know, and you know, I know with Steve, you know, he had a comment about that, but you know, don't hesitate to reach out to me. All right, I'll make myself available to you guys, you know, a little bit more. So, with that said, yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
Did you guys get something out of this?
Yes.
A lot out of it.
Lots of stuff.
Okay. Good. Well, I'm glad we had to talk to them, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you.
Smacking the tail. Now go out there and pound the ball. We'll see you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tommy.
Yep.
Bye.